Imagine three professionals working in entirely separate fields: a game developer programming flight controls for a 3D airplane, a meteorologist modeling global wind currents, and a physicist mapping the polarization of light waves. The developer's mechanics work perfectly until the player points the nose of the plane straight up. The moment the model aligns with the vertical axis, the engine loses its orientation, causing the camera to snap and spin uncontrollably. The meteorologist faces a different wall while trying to simulate the atmosphere. They want to map a continuous horizontal wind that blows uniformly across the globe without stopping, but the currents inevitably collide, breaking the flow. In the physics lab, the researcher is trying to create a perfectly uniform field of linear polarization across 3D space. This requires light waves to oscillate in neat parallel lines in every direction, but every configuration ends in a distorted intersection where the lines fail to align. One inescapable geometric law links these disparate failures, breaking each of these models from the inside out. This barrier is defined by a concept in topology known as the hairy-ball theorem. To visualize it, imagine a sphere completely covered in fine hair. The challenge is to comb that hair completely flat. You want every strand to lie smooth, with no hairs crossing or clashing. But no matter how you brush, you will always find at least one tuft of hair that refuses to lie flat. This is a strict mathematical rule. On any even-dimensional sphere, a continuous directional field must contain at least one point where the flow drops to zero. Brushing hair on a sphere is a physical version of a continuous tangent vector field. This is the process of assigning a directional arrow to every single point on a surface so that there are no sharp jumps between neighbors. Brushing horizontally creates smooth flow at the equator, but at the poles, directions clash into two zero-flow collisions. A stereographic projection pushes this chaos to one side, synchronizing the arrows into a single massive swirl with just one zero point at the top. You can manipulate, move, or merge these defects, but that absolute zero point can never be erased from the sphere. This happens because of the Euler characteristic, the primary mathematical DNA that defines a shape's topology. For a standard sphere, the Euler characteristic is hard-coded to exactly 2. Topology dictates that the swirling defects in your vector field must precisely equal the Euler characteristic. Because the sphere's value is 2, the math demands that the defects on its surface also add up to 2. This is why you can comb a hairy torus, or donut shape, perfectly flat. A torus has an Euler characteristic of 0, so its arrows can flow in a continuous loop without a single defect or intersection. The breakdown of flow on a sphere represents absolute obedience to the unchangeable geometry of the shape itself. This geometry dictates the behavior of Earth's atmosphere. Because the planet is a sphere, the horizontal wind is a tangent vector field that must follow the rule. This photograph of a cyclone shows the theorem in action. There must always be at least one point where horizontal wind velocity drops to 0, the dead center eye of the storm. The topology of the planet guarantees that a cyclone or anticyclone must exist somewhere on Earth at every moment in time. The video game programmer's glitch occurs for the same reason. The top of their coordinate system acts as a mathematical eye of the storm, forcing a zero vector that breaks the camera. This rule even governs active pneumatics, biological systems where elongated molecules flow like a liquid but maintain a structured orientation. These colorful textures are the physical manifestation of topological calyx. When these molecules coat a microscopic sphere, they align like hairs on a ball, and the geometry forces them to clash. To satisfy the math, the molecules naturally form exactly 4 intersection points, positioning themselves at the corners of a tetrahedron. When biological energy is introduced, the molecules push past one another, and those mandatory defects zoom around the sphere like particles in a quantum field. Biology harnesses these topological defects as the physical engine for dynamic, complex motion. This same geometry governs the optics lab, where circular polarization acts as the mandatory calyx on the Poincare sphere, the mathematical map used to plot the polarization of light. From the eye of a hurricane to the physics of light and video game code, the exact same mathematical cage traps them all. The physical forces of the universe are not acting in a void. They are strictly limited by the invisible